Welcome to Gameography, the show about video games and the people who make them. I'm Devin.
And I'm Tim. And today we're going to be talking about the one and only, the beginning of everything after it, Super Mario and the Bros.
Yeah, truly, I think sometimes we like to have a little bit of fun here at the beginning.
We like to goof around.
Just, say some little funny things. But I don't know, man. I don't know if we got time today. Today we got the big O one.
Super Big O Bros?
Super Bagel Bros?
Okay, that's already too much, Dylan. Let's cut to it. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Well, years before that song would be composed, I thought we would go back a little bit just because we didn't cover it too much, and I, as part of my research on this on Mario, I learned more about the beginning of the Famicom in Japan.
Oh, okay.
In 1981. So I believe it came out in 1985, but in 1981, but the president of Nintendo called Uemura Masayuki, the head of the second R&D branch at Nintendo.
Okay.
The first R&D branch created the Game & Watch, which was like their kind of big thing at that point, beyond like the arcade games. I mean, it's an insane concept, especially now to like think back on. But it is like the progenitor to like the Game Boy and like the Switch. If you're like the whole like Nintendo, all their like handheld stuff.
And I mean, like, listen. It's quite. Are you listening? It's quite arguable, more than a little arguable, that Nintendo's real post NES stamp on the world and the video game world is like handheld stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of beautiful. That was like basically at the very beginning.
Yeah. Created by someone we've talked about a little bit before, Miyamoto's sort of mentor, Yokoi Gunpei. But so the president of Nintendo calls in Uemura to his office and says,
Wait. Okay, let's play this out. So
who are you?
Wait.
Am I the president, or are you the?
I'm the president. Who has the most lines? You'll be that person.
Okay, I'll be the president.
Okay, start it over again.
Okay. The president calls in Uemura to his office. Thank you for coming today.
Knock knock.
Please,
Sumimasen?
please come in.
Hello, Mr. President.
Hello. So as you know, the Game & Watch is selling well, and you're in charge of the second R&D development, and you're not really doing anything right now. You're just kind of sitting on your butt, just going home early, hanging out with your wife.
I can't.
This is a Japanese company. You can't hang out with your family. It's going to be your job to make a cartridge-based home console, video game console, that will not be able to be bested for 3 years.
Okay. Have we considered discs?
I don't think that's possible.
I'd really like it if maybe in a little while we could stake everything on an addition to the system that adds discs.
I don't think that's possible. I don't even know what a disc is.
Like on the Xbox.
Oh, the Xbox.
Devin, we could be professional improvisers. This is so good.
So this is in an interview with Uemura where I read about this, and he says that it was like, it sounded basically impossible to make a console that would be like undefeated for 3 years.
Had there even been a console yet? I forget. Was the Atari out at this point?
The Atari and like the ColecoVision, which apparently the ColecoVision was like a big influence in like their design, but I don't really know much about it.
Remind me what that is again.
I think it's American.
Okay.
By Coleco.
You had me at American. You had me at Coleco.
I mean, they're obviously not around anymore.
Wait, like CALICO?
COLECO.
Oh.
Then Vision. It came out in 1982, so it actually wasn't out at the point that they had this conversation. But it was like, here. This is a picture of it. Have you ever seen that? It has like that crazy controller
listeners,
with a knob and like it's like a phone almost.
What I'm seeing right now is the most 80s thing I could possibly imagine. It looks like a printer and a phone, but worse.
But the ColecoVision could do like smoother graphics than like the Atari.
Oh, okay.
And that's like kind of what they wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have a manufacturer to work with, so he was like just kind of scrambling. Eventually they partnered with Ricoh, which is a Japanese computer manufacturer, and basically they told them like, we need something that we can run Donkey Kong off of. Like that was their like specification. Instead of like they didn't say like, we need like this much like memory or like whatever. They said like,
we need a Donkey Kong machine.
It needs to be able to play Donkey Kong. And
we
also
need a big old monkey machine.
Yeah, and also they said like the engineers at that company were like video game fans and like they knew Donkey Kong, so that it was actually like a good like way to convey that, and also it made them like excited because they were like, yeah, I want to play Donkey Kong at my house instead of having to go to the arcade.
Man, God, I mean that really is what a concept to bring Donkey Kong himself into your home with your family.
And he didn't even have his bananas yet, but one day he would.
But little did they know.
So they ended up using a CPU called the 6502, which...
Oh, I think I know that one. I don't know that CPU.
Yeah, nobody knows it. At the time, it was like part of the reason maybe they used it. Well, one was because like that company had the patent for it, but then also it was like, at least he says in this interview, like only like a few people in Japan knew how it worked. I think as opposed to like the problems that like Atari and stuff were having, where like anyone could like program stuff for it. It would actually be really hard for other people to program for it if they didn't know it.
So this is Nintendo's legacy of that goes back to the very beginning.
And they didn't have any plans for like licensing to like have other people make games for it. They just like thought they would make all the games to go with the Nintendo or for the Famicom. So they didn't really like think about making it easy or anything. And then when the system released, 1983, the system released, and it was not a like huge success. It was like a success, but it wasn't like what we would think of like today as like, like a huge success for like Nintendo and stuff. And it was not until 1985 when a game, Super Mario Brothers, came out that things really started to take off. So where we left Mr. Miyamoto-san last time was they had made Excite Bike and of course Devil World.
Of course.
How could you forget Devil World? And so in 1984, I believe, they were planning on making the disk system that you alluded to. And so Miyamoto was planning a sort of culmination of like everything that they learned from the cartridge-based games.
They said I couldn't do it. He told me in his office that day. I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, I don't even know what a disc is. And he laughed me out of the room.
Yeah, basically. But basically, they were trying to push it as like far as they possibly could. Because, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but like the cartridge that they used on it had like 40 like kilobits of RAM or something, some infinitesimally small number. And
wait,
that was like what they had decided originally that like they would need for Donkey Kong.
Okay.
And so like Donkey Kong is like 4 screens. Now imagine like them trying to make what we now know as Super Mario Bros.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
that's the same amount of memory.
What a difference.
Yeah.
That's insane. And also how did the cartridges have RAM? Like, did they have a hard drive and
that's how like
a RAM unit?
They didn't have a hard drive. They just had RAM, and like that's how like all of Nintendo's cartridges have. I mean, I assume that's just all cartridge-based systems that kind of worked.
Okay.
Like the NES itself had that CPU that I was talking about. It also had a graphics, like a CPU for graphics called the PPU.
Okay.
The picture processing unit is what it's called.
Yeah. And I can see why they changed that to GPU.
Yeah. And there was no like sound, there was no separate sound thing. So like the same CPU that did like all the game basically had to do the sound and the music too.
Okay, wow.
So that was like a consideration. And they talk about with Koji Kondo that like they actually had him like for most games they would have the music come in at the end, but they said that like actually what would happen is a lot of times there wouldn't end up being enough like processing power left over. So like after people would add in the music and stuff that like the game would get all slow.
Oh.
So they had him do it kind of from the middle or whatever so that they would know how much like room they had.
Okay. That was one of the stories I was going to tell you.
Oh, really?
In less detail. So
this is a picture from the
Wow,
this is a picture from I believe it was like I think this is from the 25th anniversary.
Wow.
They released like a special edition kind of thing. And this was like included in the booklet. It's you can find it online. It's like a hand-drawn thing of what Miyamoto drew. And you can see the date of February 2nd.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's like stamped with his like stamp on it and stuff.
That's the Miyamoto stamp there? Oh my gosh.
I think so.
Is this like is this kind of supposed to be like that infamous first part?
What's the infamous first part?
Like the first kind of like screen essentially where it teaches you how to play the game?
No, this is just like him like literally like this is his like outline of what like the game is.
Oh, so this is even early. This is
even earlier. This is like his like this is like he was like submitting this to his boss and be like, this is like the game I want to make essentially.
Mm-hmm. We have squares and a thing that moves around the squares. That's all that this is.
Yeah, there's a couple of squares. There's like the dotted lines that show like where you jump. So there's like there's a place where it's written like start, and then it's really small. I can't see it, but there's like jump lines, and I basically just like summarized kind of what he'd written down. But the addition of creating a bigger character, and they talk about how that's like kind of taken from Devil World.
Wow! So Devil World inspired Big O Bros.
Yeah. And so like basically his whole idea for Super Mario Bros was like, I just want to make a game with a big character. It's like kind of it's like so simple when you hear it. So like
also I would never in a million years describe Mario as a big character game.
Yeah.
Like
exactly,
he's like the exact same size as the guy in Excitebike. Right? I mean, I guess maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just
originally there wasn't like Little Mario. It was just Big Mario. Like when you get the mushroom.
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not see that guy that much. Spent most of my playthrough in little mode.
Yeah. Okay. So the other things that he'd written down: the background will scroll as you go to the right.
I mean, that alone,
and
that's like one of the fundamental things that changes this.
Yeah.
Like from all the games previous, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess the Devil World did kind of scroll, but not quite.
Yeah, but it wasn't like
horrible way.
Yeah. It wasn't like a side scroller game though. And then the other thing was the background scrolling. That's like from Excitebike, basically, in a way.
Oh, well, duh.
And then he like lifts. There will be lifts and other dangerous obstacles that you have to like get around, and that's from Donkey Kong Jr. and stuff.
Yeah,
all these games coming together.
Gosh, it's almost embarrassing actually when I think about this stuff, like how beautiful that is to see him putting together these ideas. It's me.
It's pretty incredible how like this is like almost exactly just like what they made, like what he wrote down.
Yeah,
like he just like as what he wanted to make. It's like basically all there.
Yeah,
like,
that's
as far as like the concepts and stuff.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
And I mean, the whole game is essentially just kind of like like most beautiful pieces of art. It's a repetition and gradual changing of the same core fundamental ideas, and it's like that's what it is, even at the base premise.
So yeah, like I said, they started as an exercise to just start as a large character. So literally, like when they started programming it and making it, it was just a big block that jumped around on the screen.
Okay.
And like the background was just pure black. I don't know what like the platforms were, but presumably they were very simple. And And an interesting thing about this that we'll come back to in a later episode is that they were also like he was also making Legend of Zelda at the same time.
Yeah, I read that. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so like they made that prototype of like a big block jumping around on a screen, and he was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then he stopped working on that and started working on Legend of Zelda.
Wow.
And then later went back to Mario when his boss was like, hey, you got to make something. Like, can't stop like fussing around.
Yeah, I mean, because, I played Zelda and Mario. I feel the same way about that I do about this, where it's like, it makes me emotional to think about how big that is and like how quickly that advanced everything. And to think that both of those games were being made at the exact same time just makes even more sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like a lot of the same people worked on them. I think besides like some of the programmers, because, it was like Koji Kondo, him, Tezuka, like his assistant producer kind of guy, or designer kind of guy.
How can we get that picture that I sent you to everyone? The picture where the whole Nintendo squad is standing side to side with their arms crossed. Oh, it's the best photo.
I mean, we could put...
You know what? I'm going to put that on the Gameography Pod Twitter account. So go follow that to see the images we're talking about.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, we can like put it in like a thread for this episode or something.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
You got to follow at Gameography Pod. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. I sent you a second image. You know what? We'll put this on Twitter too.
Oh, yeah.
For you guys to see. But this is another image that a drawing of his of the controller, basically, and then what like the buttons are going to do. So,
and my favorite part is that left is walk left, up is jump, right is walk right, and down is a bunch of Japanese characters.
Yeah, is crouch.
He couldn't think of how to say that. Crouch. You don't even crouch.
You can when you're big.
What? I didn't crouch once.
You can't when you're small, but if you're big, you can crouch and then you get to the like shrink down to the size of.
Yeah. I cannot stress how bad I was at that game and how little time I spent as Big Mario.
Okay, this is like kind of a big deal though, because this shows how different in some ways the design was for a while, because obviously up is jump, which is insane. Like
that's ludicrous.
That would have like borderline changed the course of video game history.
I mean, Smash Bros. That idea got used.
But Smash Bros. I'm like, there are lots of games that do it.
Yeah.
But it's not like the best choice.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree.
Like
we'd be living in a different world. Two completely divergent paths. I'm going to be honest. That sounds kind of nice to me. The idea of running around as Mario and I'm doing the little up motion now. That sounds nice.
No, you're wrong.
There's something nice about doing that in Smash. Frees up a whole button. What do you?
Yeah, the jumping around in those levels where you have to jump and like do like those like
okay,
trial levels.
That's a really compelling point.
Are really fun.
Yeah. Okay. No, I take it back. You're right.
Okay, but then you can see the other ones are run and attack, which. So run is still how it
of course
was. But then attack, and it has below it kick, rifle, and beam gun. There was gonna be originally like a lot more like attacking.
Wow
is kind of what they said, and this is what Miyamoto said when asked about this. He said he was going to use a beam gun when he flew on a cloud. So like there was originally this whole section where like there would be like levels where you're like flying on a cloud, and it'd be like a shooter essentially is what it sounds like.
That sounds kind of awesome.
It does sound kind of cool.
Also, I love the idea of Mario just having a gun. That's another choice that could have like completely changed video game history.
Yeah.
Mario the marksman.
Yeah. So like the only so that kind of did stick around with like the fireball stuff.
But again, it's B. It's the run button to shoot it, right?
Yeah. So you only do it when you first start running, or if you don't run, you can keep shooting them. But yeah.
I mean, obviously in reality it's different, but like this is kind of a more elegant design, I think, where it's like every button actually has its own function. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
I found it a little weird to like run and also shoot the fireballs. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is. I don't know. I'm used to it. Also, like you, I did not have fireballs very often when I was playing. So
yeah.
So this is kind of interesting. This is from the 25th anniversary when all this kind of came out, and the interview was. It's from Iwata Asks, and Iwata was the president of Nintendo at the time, and he says, "So ever since the beginning, you imagined him flying in the sky, and which I think maybe he's referencing like the cap wing in Mario 64 or something like that. I don't know what exactly he's referencing, but
well, and also I always thought when I first saw the cloud guy who throws the spiky guys, I kept on trying to steal his cloud
because you can do that in other games.
Yeah,
but not in this one. You just kill him.
Yeah.
It is kind of disappointing. I agree.
So clearly, this is an idea that kind of got used in a lot of different ways.
And Miyamoto says yes, but at the time it wasn't on a cloud, but on a rocket. And then here's a picture drawn not by Miyamoto but by Tezuka, who is his assistant designer on this, of Mario on a cloud, and then there's like the flying turtles, the flying Koopa Troopas, the para Koopa Troopas. They're like with lions coming through, like coming and shooting at him, kind of. And it says on the side, it's actually pretty hard to read because the scan's not that good. Yeah. But also the handwriting and stuff. But it says like they'd be coming from like random directions, and then you have to dodge them.
Oh, okay.
Clearly an idea they didn't use, but
that's kind of.
But that is what they were talking about.
That's like the fish.
Sort of, yeah.
Where the like, especially in those certain levels, where the fish
come
just
up,
fly out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. This looks really fun. I kind of wish they had done that.
All right, so let me ask you this. So this is maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but it's just to jump into
let's get ahead of ourselves.
Just jump into the game a little bit. I feel like I don't know what there is much to say about like the game. It's like everyone knows Super Mario Bros.
It's
like
literally the single most iconic game of all time. So
like even if you've never like played video games, you like know what it is.
Yeah. Like on Wikipedia it said Koji Kondo wrote the Mario Bros theme, the single most iconic and recognizable piece of
video Wikipedia says it, it's true.
I read that on Wikipedia.
On the Wikipedia page for Wikipedia?
Yes.
So when you were playing, did you use any of the warp pipes? Or do you know
do you mean like the warp to future worlds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not, because and this was actually very funny to me, is that I obviously the first one where you go up on the top of the like underground part and then you run across the whole thing, you get to the warp where you go to the future worlds. I didn't do that, and I realized that I don't think I've ever played the game and not done that. Because I haven't really played this game that much, like more than like the first level or two. And every single time, I think I went to future worlds, and so I was completely blown away by there was like the second world looked different.
Yeah.
Did you use the pipes?
I did. Yeah, I think I just skipped. Like I didn't mean to. Like that first one, honestly, and actually I did it on accident on another one too. Like they're like weirdly easy to get to.
Yeah.
Or stumble upon, which is probably how they wanted it. I think I just skipped to the second world because I didn't want to skip that much.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever, like the closest one I could get to.
Yeah.
But Miyamoto says the idea for that actually came from the arcade version of Excitebike.
Oh, okay.
Because that version of the game had 3 levels, and it would let you choose which level you wanted to go to. And he said, because there was no way of saving your progress or anything in the game, he wanted a way for people to just if they had been and also they couldn't rewind and stuff like we can on the Switch.
Oh my god.
So if you were playing and you wanted to, you're like, okay, I played the first couple worlds a bunch of times, I just want to get to the later stuff. You could do that.
That's actually really brilliant.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're playing this on the Switch, NES Classic, whatever, and we're doing. I mean, I sometimes playing, I would think what if I couldn't rewind, and every time the conclusion is I would never finish this game. It would take hours and hours, because it's just you run and it's fireball, I'm done. Just start over, and then it's just I
think what a lot of people did as kids and stuff is, because like also at the time it was like the big thing was like there'd be like magazines with like secrets and hints and stuff, you know, like and then you'd read those.
Oh yeah, what is that? Like, is it Nintendo Power?
Yeah,
and then also
I'm sure there's other ones and stuff.
Game strategy guides, you know.
Yeah. Oh. Like one thing that like for a long time people thought was a bug, but they actually like put in there on purpose was do you know like the trick of like where if you get it set up right and you like jump on a turtle shell, like hitting a thing, it'll like just like keep giving you lives.
Oh really? Oh no, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So like they put that in there, but but Miyamoto said like he thought it would be like a lot harder for people to do. And people have just like mastered it, so they can just get like 100 lives.
Wow.
And like there's like a certain like level you can do it on. Like it's like the second or third level, I think.
Oh, okay. It's not every level?
No.
Oh, are you talking about the thing where it hits the block over and over?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think I've seen that.
And it just keeps giving you 1-ups. Yeah.
Wow.
And actually another thing that was a bug at the beginning, which is insane, is like the blocks where you jump up and you can hit them more than once.
Wow, yeah.
That was a bug, and they were like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, you can hit it more than once. We should put those in there.
That's so funny. They still do that they did that in Odyssey, you know? Mm-hmm. That's another thing.
I mean, it's just classic. It's just fun.
It's just classic and fun.
And so this is Miyamoto's quote on that.
It's classic and fun.
It's classic, it's fun. One of the great things about video games is that while you're making one, you can test it, break it down, and adjust it. So in my case, the greater portion of what's important about my creativity might happen only after I have started working on it. That's clearly like Miyamoto's kind of thing, like philosophy, but also I feel like maybe just because of like him and his role in the company, like you can feel that through like all Nintendo games at this point. Mm-hmm. It's like they clearly just like spend so much time just like kind of playing around with it.
Yeah.
That's what like makes their games like more special than a lot of other.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just, I think that for most people doing creative things, that's like the creative process is you come up with an idea and then you just fuck it up over and over again until it becomes what you want it to become. And it's often a completely surprising end result that you were never planning on.
Yeah.
And you can really see that in like I mean, just in general, you can see with Miyamoto's games that we keep on covering that it's like he's working on them the way that, I mean, it's the whole premise of this stupid podcast.
Yeah. You can see his growth and how he's iterating on his own ideas.
Yeah, and just the fact that he's just working like any artist would, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like playing through these games is like listening to all the Beatles albums or watching a bunch of David Lynch films or something, you know?
Yeah, it's like, exactly. It's like you can, like, you don't necessarily want to go listen to like the first couple of Beatle albums, but like you can appreciate like that, like that they're like building their craft there.
Mm-hmm. And listen, Devil World is his Love Me Do, you know? It has its charm, but...
So Miyamoto and Tezuka would pull out graph paper and like draw all the levels by hand and like color in the blocks and stuff as like what they're supposed to be. And that's how they would make the levels, because just with, you know, like the technology at the time, basically they said they could give one level to like the programmers per day, and like by the end of the day they'd have like the level like programmed out so that they could like play it the next day and see how it worked. But so they had to do like as much as they could off of the computers, and I feel like that probably continued for like a while as with like game design, but I'm not totally sure.
I mean, definitely like that whole era you see a lot of graph paper.
Yeah.
And can we go back to that? Because looking at these images that you're showing me of the graph paper, like that's just beautiful, just delicious. I want to see every picture like that ever.
Yeah,
I wish that was still a thing.
And so a lot of this information did come out with the 25th anniversary, which is when it was 30th, I guess, when Super Mario Maker came out.
Yeah,
and he talked about how they used to do it by like hand and stuff, and then like basically how they came up with the idea of making that game was like the tools that they had made to make Mario levels like got so easy that they were like, oh, we could just make this into a game. but I'll show you like a little bit later, because so there's like what's called NES Homebrew, which is
wow.
Do you know about this?
Is this from, I know what Homebrew is, but is that from that era?
No, it's like that's like modern stuff happening. It's like people like basically like trying to figure out how the NES works and then like programming it. Mm-hmm. So it's like they can Like there have been people who have like made new NES games.
Oh, wow,
like actually
cool.
like make cartridge and stuff.
Oh yeah, I have seen stuff like that.
But then also you could just like play them on emulators and stuff.
Yeah.
But so someone like basically, it's called Super Mario Bros. Deconstructed, where like basically they like figured out how it's all coded, and so like they have the whole code written out, and it's so insane. I'll like show it to you. It's literally like tens of thousands of lines of code, and it's all like gibberish. Like as part of that, like I said, memory constraints were like a big deal. So like if they were able to save a little bit of memory, they could have an extra block on a level or something. Like it's like to that level. And so they would ask, like they asked Koji Kondo like, how much memory do you need to like make the song and stuff? And then he would like tell them, they're like, okay, good, we can like put in this then.
Which is also, I know that was a big part of like why that was the big limitation for all the composers at the time.
Yeah.
Kondo said, within the limits that the system had, I think trying to create music with that technology and trying to piece all of the different things together to come up with what I consider to be catchy or compelling music, it was sort of puzzle-like, and I really enjoyed that challenge. That's Koji Kondo, composer of every good song.
Do you want to talk about the music a little bit?
Yeah, so it was all composed by Koji Kondo, who we talked about last time, and I just wanted to maybe elaborate more about Koji Kondo, because last time I talked about how he basically like dropped out of college, applied for one single job in Nintendo, and then just had his whole career made after that,
and didn't have to like do anything. Like I read a separate interview where he was like, where they going over it too, and he was like, yeah, they just had me do like all of the like stuff anyone else would do who was applying to the company. They didn't evaluate like my musical skills at all. He was like, I don't know if there's anyone at the company who would have been able to. Like, it really seems like they just were so lucky. All these people like had no prior experience, and they just all these people just happen to be like some of the best like in the world. I have a quote about so for when they started working on the music, the notes for the above ground background music, which is the classic, as you said, the most iconic video game song of all time. The notes were like, so I assume this was like either Miyamoto or somebody's notes to him of like what to make, were above ground, Western sounding percussion, and a sound like a whip.
That is not what it ended up.
Not at all what it ended up being.
I can't even think of how that could have sprung from that idea.
Yeah, I have to imagine it didn't. He does say that the first song he composed was the underwater song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he said like that one just kind of like came to him.
Yeah, I think that you can really see in the music, especially compared to the last few episodes, games music. The thing that you were saying where he was working with them throughout the whole process, which one yielded the kind of technical, situation that you were talking about, but it also gave him the chance to actually make music that enhanced the vibe and the experience of the game, which was apparently like an unthought of concept at the time. Where, because at the time you were catering to arcade players, and so literally what those games were trying to do was be as loud and obnoxious as possible.
Yeah, just to get people's attention.
Exactly, yeah. And so now he could open up and make more musically interesting ideas, and I think it's...
And also probably, I mean, like if you look at a lot of like how they treated music, like I think if they would just be like throwing in, like kind of how like Miyamoto would just like at the beginning of like arcade game stuff, there'd just be like a little like classical like riff or whatever. They're just like, oh, let's just do this. Like it doesn't really have anything to do with like what's happening, but because I feel like this is probably one of the early times where like also they were really trying to think of like, let's match the music, like the mood and like the feeling of the music to what's happening.
Exactly, yeah.
Because also he talks about how the first version that he made for like the main overground theme,
the whip one,
maybe, I don't know. I don't think I probably didn't sound like that either, but he said it was easygoing.
Oh, interesting.
So I assume it was like kind of slow or I don't know, but so they scrapped it, and then once he actually played the game with like the graphics there, then he like composed the one that actually became the iconic one.
And that just clearly led the way for all these iconic NES games made by Koji Kondo and Hippie Hoppy Tanaki, like Metroid and Kid Icarus.
Yeah, that's what I thought of though when he was like, no one was there that could like evaluate me. I know, Hip Tanaka's there.
Where's Hippie? Where is he at during this interview? He was off playing a DJ dub concert because he thought he was so cool.
He was in Jamaica at the time.
In my head, in these early days of Nintendo, I think of, to reference the Beatles, maybe, I feel like I picture Koji as Paul, the kind of like quiet, demure? Is that a word?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like soft-spoken, nice guy. And then Hip Tanaka is John Lennon. He's kind of a dickhead, you know? I have no reason to think that, but I'm picturing him being very pretentious. And it's kind of deserved, you know? Because he's great, but I picture him roasting Koji Kondo.
Can you imagine if John Lennon worked on Pokemon games? or like he wrote like Pokemon songs? Did you know that Koji Kondo also made like the sound effects?
Yeah.
So he talks about how like when you like get the mushroom and you grow big, the like burr 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 sound is the same for when you go down pipes. Did you realize that? I think it's like inverted or something like that, weird like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's like just the notes are played backwards.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of stuff like that to save memory where like they would use just the same sound effect.
That's amazing because I never noticed that.
Exactly, yeah.
It feels very appropriate. It almost feels intentional where it's a familiar sound, but I know which one it is, I think. Or I could upon listening.
So there's another article that's like talking about specifically like the technical limitations and how they fit it all into that 40 kilobytes. So this is just like, to put it into perspective, there's 32 levels, over a dozen enemies, the platforming physics, all the sound effects and music in 40 kilobytes. And to put that into perspective, like basically any image you see on like any JPEG you see online is probably at least like 100 or like more, up to like megabytes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just like think about that. And they had to do like a lot of crazy like programming tricks, like with like the scrolling background, like not the like bricks and stuff, but the actual like background with like the clouds and stuff. Those would just be like a single repeating image. Where like if you pay attention, like you can see like where it repeats essentially. And also if you there's like, do you know about this? There's like, you can actually jump over the flagpole if you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's like a bug. There's like, I think there's one level in specific where it's like possible to do it. And if you jump over it and you just keep running to the right, it'll just keep going for it like infinitely with that same background.
Yeah. And I mean, you just have to think that they're basically figuring out how to do all of this.
Yeah, and they're like the first ones to figure out how to do this.
They're like inventing new coding techniques essentially. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And also like, so all of this is also the reason why you can run to the right but you can't run to the back, like to the left. Because once you go to the right, everything from this way is just deleted. So it can load more stuff.
Well, so do you know, was that also intentional, or was that just kind of a side effect that they let be a function of the game?
I assume, like, because from Miyamoto's like original designs, you can only go to the right, and I assume he just like knew that was going to be a limitation.
Yeah.
But maybe he just like, I mean, I could see that just being a design choice too, of like, you always got to go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how the game is described in like the manual book, like the booklet that comes with the game when you buy it. It says, one day the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic. The quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stones, bricks, and even field horse hair plants.
What?
And the mushroom kingdom fell into ruin.
Wait, what? Did you say field horse houseplants?
And even field horse hair plants.
Horse hair plants.
Horse hair plants.
That must be the piranha plant guys?
So there's actually like there's this
scholars
like,
don't have a full agreement on this.
Truly is no like people don't know what this is, but there is like in the background of some of the levels there's like a weird like I think it's like kind of like yellowish, like
kind of scraggly.
It's like skinny on the bottom and then kind of like fatter on the top.
Okay,
I don't know. Who knows? Okay, but so it has been pointed out that if you think about this, what this is saying is you're like, when you're breaking bricks, you're killing the mushroom people.
That is horrifying.
I feel like there can't be any way that this is actually canon, right? Like
that must have been written after the fact. Yeah.
Also, this is like the English like translation. There are some differences in like in the original Japanese.
That would, I mean, if that's canon, then he's just still doing it.
Exactly. That's why there's no way it can be canon, right? Like, because he's still just doing the exact same stuff. Okay, it continues. The only one who can undo the magic spell on the mushroom people and return them to their normal selves is the Princess Toadstool, the daughter of the Mushroom King. I don't think the Mushroom King has ever made an appearance in a Mario game.
Is that like Toadsworth, the like old Toad?
I don't think so.
It's not.
Unfortunately, she is presently in the hands of the great Koopa Turtle King. So this is in Japan. So that's Bowser, obviously. In Japan, he's not known as Bowser. He's known
like still
to this day. He's still just known as Koopa.
Wow.
Or like his like literal name in Japanese is like Dark Magic King Koopa or something like that.
Wow. I mean, wow, that's crazy because that's what it said, right? That the Koopas are dark sorcerers.
Yeah.
Which, no, they're not. They're turtles.
Yeah.
They just walk at you or throw hammers if they're assholes.
Yeah. Mario, the hero of the story, in parentheses, maybe. The weirdest, honestly, maybe the weirdest part about this whole thing, hears about the mushroom people's plight and sets out on a quest to free the mushroom princess from the evil Koopa and restore the fallen kingdom of the mushroom people. You are Mario. It's up to you to save the mushroom people from the black magic of the Koopa. And I believe also, so like it's a Princess Toadstool here, but I think in Japan, even from the beginning, it was like Peach.
Oh, interesting.
And then they later like changed her to Peach.
Is it the Japanese word for peach or peach? Just like
I think it's literally just like peach. I'm pulling up the Japanese
Pichu
thing now to check. But
Pichu, the Pokemon.
Pichu.
But so Princess Toadstool is that canonically Peach?
I believe. Yeah, I think they're like the same person.
Is it that?
It's just.
Is her last name Toadstool? Peach Toadstool?
I think I don't know. It's unclear.
I mean, the whole world of Mario and names in particular is clearly unthoughtfully explained to this day.
And there is like lots of differences between like the Japanese and the English, like as far as like enemy names and stuff.
Are they called Koopa Troopas and Goombas?
Mm-mm. Wow. The Koopas are called Noko Noko.
I like that.
And the Goombas are called Kuribo. So like they were supposed to be. This is hilarious. Miyamoto's like this like idea for the Goombas was they're like evil mushrooms. They're like mushrooms that have like turned against the Mushroom Kingdom and have sided with the Koopas.
Wow.
He literally described them as traitor mushrooms. But apparently, like a bunch of people on the design or like on the team in Nintendo said they looked like acorns or something.
Oh yeah, they do kind of look like acorns.
And so that's where the Japanese name comes from.
Oh, okay.
It's bizarre.
Well, so the implication here is that the mushrooms that we use as power-ups are sentient, right?
Yeah.
Because if they can betray the kingdom, commit grand treason, does that mean that once again Mario is just absorbing these living beings?
They don't have eyes like the Goombas do, so
don't they? Yeah, they do.
The mushrooms you pick up? Wait, do they?
They do.
In this game?
Maybe not in this one. I can't remember. I know that. I mean, they eventually do.
Actually, they do in later games for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so add that to the list of Mario's crimes against the kingdom.
He's like, I'm doing this to save all of you, and he bites into it.
I don't care how many of you I take down with me. I'll stop that Koopa.
And Toad in Japan is Kinopio. Yeah, Kinopio. He's just called Retainer in the Mushroom Retainers. He's not called Toad in this. And the description is 7 mushrooms who were originally served in the court of Princess Toadstool, but are now under the spell of the evil King Koopa, or Koopa King. So I think you're like breaking them free in each of the castles.
That would be information useful at the beginning, because it really appears to the player that Mario's just like, come on, every time, just like.
I mean, I think that is what's happening.
I mean, that's the famous Mountain Goat song about finding the toads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So in Japan, it is just Peachy. This is what it says about in the instruction manual: Bowser, king of the Koopa. The sorcerer king holding Princess Toadstool captive in the last castle. He comes at you spitting fire. There are several ways to kill him, but you only get points if you use fireballs. So I've never killed Bowser with fireballs.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah, I've always just jumped over him.
Yeah.
And like hit the like thing that makes the bridge go away.
Are there other ways beyond those two as well?
I honestly don't know. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
That I never knew until like looking this stuff up. There's the 8 castles, the 8 worlds. At the end of every one is Bowser.
Yeah.
If you kill Bowser with the fireballs the first 7 times, it reveals that it's actually another enemy wearing a Bowser suit. It's not the real Bowser.
What? Who is it?
Let's see. Okay. In order, these enemies are Goomba, Koopa Troopa, Buzzy Beetle, Spiny, Lactu, Blooper, and Hammer Bros. And then the last one is the real Bowser. Truly insane that there's that level of detail, and also I feel like no one knows that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I mean, clearly neither of us even knew you could kill it with fireballs.
Yeah.
But that does make a little more sense, because it's like, why am I killing Bowser 8 times?
Yeah.
Because there's 8 Bowsers. It's like the end of Naked Lunch, just unzipping his Bowser suit.
Yeah.
It's to Goomba the whole time.
Though clearly they kind of gave up on that, because like Mario 64,
that's true.
You do just fight Bowser multiple times, and he's just like, okay, peace.
Maybe if they were fireballs, it would reveal that it's actually a toad the whole time.
Oh my god, Toad's behind it all.
Betrayal of Toad.
Yeah, so the story of Super Mario Bros. Is kind of insane.
It's appropriately insane. You know?
I mean, when you really think about, to us, Super Mario Bros. Is so normalized at this point, but it's every single element of what is going on is completely insane. You're a plumber running around in some crazy world, jumping on mushrooms and giant turtles to kill them. You just jump on them, and you eat mushrooms to get big. Everything is insane.
I mean, it's weird that it was adapted and beloved as the characters even so quick. I don't know how quick it was, but so ultimately successfully.
Yeah.
Considering it's like a Dali painting. It's just nonsense.
It is just
And especially if you're, because of the way it all worked, it's if you're not reading that manual, you have no clue what any of this is about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even us not knowing all that, we're still going into it with the kind of cultural knowledge of Mario and Peach's weird relationship and Bowser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I feel it's Japan is known for a lot of insane crazy properties and stuff, anime and crazy movies and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel Mario is not included in people don't think of it. You know what I mean? People think of Mario as just oh yeah, it's just Mario. It's normal. But it's no, it's not.
It is absolutely as weird as every anime that
yeah. It just doesn't maybe it's that it doesn't draw attention to its weirdness as much, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's very quiet and humble in its just surrealism.
Yeah. So this is what, going back to the mushroom power-up, this is what Miyamoto apparently like said about why the power-up is a mushroom. I've read he's like said kind of different things, but one is that like in Japanese fairy tales, people would eat mushrooms and like have weird things happen to them.
Oh.
And he also mentioned like just like fairy tales in general. Like he said Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if that even happens in Alice in Wonderland, but he apparently said he thought a mushroom would be an easily understandable power-up worldwide.
I mean, ultimately he was right, but
only because he made it that. Like, and he even acknowledges, because like he talks about how they designed the first level and how like they made it so it would be difficult to avoid the mushroom.
Yeah, of course.
Because like you might think it's an enemy.
Yeah, and so that's kind of going against what he's saying. That's
exactly
clearly.
Yeah. If you really wanted it to be clear, like you shouldn't have made the first enemy you see look exactly like the power up.
I mean, literally, the first enemy you see is a dissenter version of that power up.
Yeah. Though what's interesting is he did say that the Goombas were the last enemy that they added.
Oh, really?
Originally, it was Koopas, like were the first enemy, but they decided it was too hard.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, because whenever there's Koopas, I start to worry.
Koopas are great. It's those Hammer Bros. They'll fuck you up.
That's the first note that I wrote for this episode was how much I deeply hate those Hammer Bros.
I don't think I ever realized you could kill them by jumping on top of them, but I did that. Like I always either just tried to run past them or killed them from below, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But
those guys suck.
Oh, especially the last level, and I think there's at least one other part where they aren't on those platforms and you can't jump under and kill them.
Yeah.
I mean,
you just have to like time it.
In my last level, I think I must have done the rewind because I died 50 times.
Yeah, the last level is
60 times.
Really hard. Yeah, I agree.
Mostly for me, just those hammer guys. I had no problem with the rest of it, really.
Really?
It was, yeah.
Isn't it? But it's like the last level.
Oh, well, yeah.
Is like that crazy maze.
Yeah.
Like the other ones, like I didn't have to look up, but that one was like, I cannot do this.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, because it was the opposite. When I had told you before that I couldn't figure out the puzzle at the end, and I realized as I was playing it that I was wrong, and I was doing 7-4.
Okay, yeah.
And that one I could not figure out at all. I was playing on a plane, and I think I must have spent 20 minutes just doing every combination. It didn't work. But then the last one, I looked up the first part, and then I just decided to do it on my own, and I figured it out.
Wow.
With just seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, that is like the hard part about that level.
and also I want to know if you encountered this when at the end it had the speed up from being low on time, and I got the star, and it was the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Yeah, I had a very hard time with this game overall. I can't really tell if it's because the controls are dated, by like our current standards, or if it's just that it's a very unique kind of like weight to Mario. I just constantly would fall off of stuff. Like it was just over and over again. I couldn't make the simplest jumps.
Really?
And then I would like when you're running, you get so much momentum. Like I would let go of the controller and I would just run off into the lava or something.
Yeah, no, you got to hold back. Then you like skids.
Yeah. So I found the movement difficult, but I don't think it was by no fault of Miyamoto-san's.
I mean, obviously it's like a little bit different than like more modern Mario games and other platformers, but like I feel like my takeaway is just like how similar it is. They really have not changed a lot in like the 35 years.
Yeah. They added a wall jump.
Yeah, like exactly. Like they added more like power-ups and enemies and like kind of different things, but it's like the core game is exactly the same. Like the biggest difference is like what came in Super Mario Bros. 3 with like the overworld, we could go between levels and stuff. Yeah. Where it wasn't just like, do it all in one shot, bro. Like
But I mean, ultimately, as big as that feels, it's really the same concept.
Exactly.
It's just a visualization of the progression. It's like,
exactly. Like the gameplay is still the same.
I mean, honestly, the design document that we talked about at the very beginning, that almost applies to every Mario game, other than like side scrolling. Where you're dodging enemies, moving and using power. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
that's all that Odyssey is. But it's in New York.
I feel like the 3D Marios are like their own like revolution. Like I feel like they're very different kinds of games.
But like when you really boil it down, though, it's just
I mean, when you really boil it down.
I mean, when you really boil it down,
moving a character around.
It's Koopas all the way down.
Okay, so like the only part that we did both talk about, like the only part that didn't continue on into later games is those maze levels. Which thank God, because those are like the only part of the game that I think are like not good.
Yeah, there's something kind of clever and interesting about it in concept, but it's just they're so hard. It's like I honestly don't know how you could figure those out. Some of them.
Yeah, and it feels like it's just like it just comes out of like left field,
Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden you're expected to like think in a different way.
Yeah,
I could see playing the game like as a kid or whatever, and getting to like the first one of those levels and just not understanding what's happening.
Yeah,
because like there's no indication that it just keeps looping.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I ran so far before I realized.
Exactly, it's like you would just like probably luck into it, but it's like you can just die from running out of time.
Yeah,
and that's not fun.
That and many, many other parts of the game, I thought like if I were a kid playing this, I would never finish it. There's so many things. I didn't finish many easier games as a child, so.
Yeah, well, as a child?
Devin, don't embarrass me in front of the internet.
Do you know about the Minus World?
I do not know about that.
So I believe it's the same place as like the first place where you can go to the warp pipes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If you jump into it like the right way, you like jump into it like facing backwards and crouched.
What, the pipe or
like so it's like there's like the pipe that you go to exit the level.
Yeah.
And then like the warp pipes are on the other side of like that where you can't see them, but if you go over it, then you can get to them. If you're there's like it's like the pipe is there, so it looks like you can't do it, but if you jump in the right way and are facing backwards and crouching, you like jump into that space and then it like slides you. You just like start moving to the right and into that area. And then it says like all the pipes say like -1 maybe.
What?
So if you go down into it, then you're in an underwater level. And where it normally says like the level, it says -1. And then if you get to the end of the level, it just keeps looping infinitely and you're just stuck in there.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're literally describing a bad dream you had to me.
Yeah, so it's
I jumped backwards onto this pipe and I slowly floated into an endless loop of fish.
So yeah, I don't know how that was like discovered originally, but
was
that's
that
like
intentional, do you know?
So that was like a rumor for a long time, and eventually Miyamoto said it was not intentional, it's just a bug.
How could that be a bug?
It's just okay.
I don't think I believe that.
No, you wait. It gets crazier.
The plot thickens.
Here's a quote from the article where I got this from. Now here's where things get even weirder. In Japan, so this is not possible in the like American version, what I'm about to describe.
Okay.
In Japan, Super Mario Bros. Was remade for the Famicom disk system. When that came out, like the same, like later that year or whatever. In this version of the game, Minus World exists, but it's completely different than the one in the cartridge version of Super Mario Bros. The disk system version is very much like World 1-3, the level with the big mushroom platforms, except you can swim through the air as multiple Princess Toadstools and a slightly terrifying headless Bowser float around.
No, that can't be by accident.
No, just you wait. It gets crazier.
God.
Most interesting of all, you can actually finish this version of the Minus World, leading to World -2 and World -3. Finish World -3, and you'll be taken back to the title screen with hard mode unlocked. So this actually was intentional for the Famicom version, after like people had discovered that bug in the original.
Oh, okay.
So it says, were these new Minus Worlds a case of Nintendo taking a glitch and turning it into an Easter egg? It certainly seems like it, but it does get crazier.
Oh my.
So there's this, honestly, it's like kind of hard to even explain, but there was like a rumor that there was more secret levels for like a long time, but no one knew like how to get to them. So there's like a couple different ways of doing it, but one way of doing it is you have Super Mario Bros. In, you pull it out without, like while the Nintendo's Entertainment System is still on, you pull out the game, then you put in tennis for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then you like you like play for a little bit and like serve or whatever, and then like in the middle of that you pull that out, and then you put Mario back in, and then if you like hit start and A at the same time when you're hitting it, like then it'll launch you into one of 256 randomly generated like crazy worlds, and I'm gonna show you some GIFs of some of them. Or here's just one of them.
Gosh, who discovered? That's
It's
kind of how I feel
basically,
about any kind of glitch like this.
Yeah,
but
basically how it was discovered is like with like emulators and stuff. Because
wait, so they didn't know this at the time?
No, this didn't come out until like 20 years later or something. And also there was a thing in Japan. I think it came out earlier in Japan because there was a thing in Japan where like the Famicom, they sold like a keyboard and a like programming language like cartridge.
Oh wow! Okay.
So you could like do like little programs, and if you like put in like the right like memory addresses or something like that, and then put Mario in, it would like you would actually be able to choose which of the 256 levels.
Wow. Okay.
So it, like if you know about like computers and stuff, like the 256 makes sense because that's like how many bits are in like, or how many like positions there are in like the 8 bits of the system. So it is just like crazy like random stuff. There are like Japanese websites. There are like Japanese websites where like they like would like catalog like all of the different levels and stuff. And I think some people did think that they were intentional, but they've definitely said like they're not. Yeah, and I feel like it also like shows, how they programmed the game, whereas like it was so like modular.
Yeah.
That like these pieces could kind of like randomly come together and it would still like be like a level, like it would just like randomly pull a background or whatever, or like, these like kind of random graphics and stuff.
It feels like these feel like creepypastas. These don't sound
real. It truly
real.
is kind of it is like a creepypasta. It's like you can imagine like kids being like, dude, there's secret levels that no one knows how to get to on Super Mario Bros.
You can play as Master Hand and Smash Bros. If you take the cartridge out and put tennis in.
After the game was released, Super Mario Bros. Was obviously very successful. I don't know when this number is from, but it sold 40 million copies.
Wow.
From the original NES. Makes it the best-selling video game in the Mario series and one of the best-selling video games of all time. It sold 29 million copies in North America, and it was the all-time best-selling game for over 20 years.
Wow.
Until it was surpassed by Wii Sports. Which was just a pack-in with
that's kind of like that's like saying like U2 has the best-selling album of all time with what's it called, Silence or something.
But in America, I think Mario was included with the Nintendo at a certain point. Like you just got it with the
So this is this is a formula they have stuck with.
Which it makes sense. It's like that's the game everyone wanted probably.
Yeah.
I also happened to just when I was reading about this, I looked at what the best-selling video games of all time are, and it's.
Please tell me.
Do you know what give me a gander at what number 1 is?
Jeez.
You know what it is. You know what it is. Think of what game do you want me to play? What game have I not bought?
Oh, Minecraft. Okay.
Yeah. Minecraft.
That's the best-selling game of all time.
Of all time. Number 2 is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Wow, I was thinking that.
Oh, really?
That's surprising. Yeah. I didn't guess that because I thought for sure that'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Minecraft, GTA 5. What's next?
The third is Tetris.
I'm surprised Tetris isn't higher. Well, I mean, does it count all forms of Tetris?
I'm not sure.
Because I feel like that was sold on every console of all time.
It says in the platform is mobile, so I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe it doesn't. Like, maybe if it did, it would be higher. 4 is Wii Sports.
Okay.
5 is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Oh, no.
Yeah. 6 is Super Mario Bros. 7 is Pokemon, like the first Pokemon.
Oh, wow.
Series.
I'm surprised it's not higher.
I mean, I guess 7.
Yeah, 7th best-selling game of all time is significant.
It's only a little bit below Mario. 8 is Wii Fit.
Really?
Oh, here's Tetris again. 8 is Tetris for the Game Boy / NES.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And 10 is Pac-Man. which is insane to me. So, like, Pac-Man is still in the top 10.
Yeah.
The cultural impact in Japan was like to the extent that like prior to Mario, like the Japanese parliament was like worried about like the effect of like video games on like kids and stuff, but like that Mario was like so like friendly and bright and stuff that like all kind of went away, and then, like they became positive about the like, game industry. Yeah. And then they say like Super Mario Bros was where like the birth of what they call the character business, with like you know, like licensing like Mario as a character and stuff. So like Nintendo didn't have they weren't set up for that basically. Like they didn't have like a licensing office or anything, or like any like, you know, like procedures or anything. So like they just had their like just like regular people from the company like answering like phone calls and stuff. There was like so many like requests that they like couldn't keep up. I mean, I think that just shows like they weren't like that big of a company at this point, you know, and that they were not really ready for like how big of a success this was going to be. Because like even up until this point, like I said, like the Famicom was like successful, but not like that successful. And like they weren't in like, you know, they were only in Japan, but like the same year that Mario came out is when they released it in America and like Canada and stuff. So it like just went insane. Yeah. And you can see that with like, I feel like the 80s and like 90s are like the prime time when there's just like so much like weird Mario stuff.
Yeah.
And just like there's like the Mario cartoon and like the Mario movie and stuff where it's like they clearly did not know really what they were doing. Yeah. They would just like say like, sure, like give us some money and you can do it.
I'm surprised that didn't have more of a negative effect on the image of Mario or something. Like,
because also there's like a bunch of like really bad like Mario games that like, you know, like they didn't make.
Oh really?
Like, there's what? Like so like the one I was gonna talk about was Super Mario Bros. Special.
Oh.
Have you heard of this?
No.
It's a remake of Super Mario Bros. Made by Hudson Soft in 1986 for like the computer, essentially. For these computers. It is horrifying. Like you should like if you're listening to this, you should like look up a video of it. It looks horrible. All of the like colors and graphics are just like worse, and also just like the control is so bad. Like it's like borderline impossible to play.
Wow, yeah.
But then there's like a bunch of other games that I don't really know what they are, but like Super Mario Hotel or something like that. And then there's like Mario Teaches Typing and all these like things.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's funny how we've just kind of forgotten and forgiven all those weird missteps from the 80s and 90s.
Well, I mean, they did stop, and like by the time like we were like kids, is like that wasn't as much a thing.
There were still some remnants of that. And I mean, like, you know, the Zelda cartoon and for me, what is the most famous example of this is the Donkey Kong show. Did you ever watch that?
No. Wait, when is this from?
It was probably late 90s, early 2000s, and it's this like 3D animated CGI like Donkey Kong show that looks, it's the worst animation you'll ever see. It's so weird and bad, and I think it's like,
I had no idea that existed.
I think there's clips online of it being like really weirdly sexual too. Like it was a horrible show.
And then there's obviously the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Oh, well, of course.
That we watched in like high school or whatever.
Yeah, this behind Blade Runner, the best cyberpunk film of all time.
Yeah.
Bowser in that movie. Little tiny head.
Oh god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh wow!
It's like a mix. It's like a mix of the villains from the Hush episode of Buffy. It's like their head in David Byrne's big suit.
That is honestly the perfect description. Are there toads in that movie?
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder if there is like anywhere, if anyone ever asked Miyamoto like what he thought about it. Or if he like
should we do an episode about that movie? I think we should.
I think we should.
I think we're realizing this at the same time.
So one final just like bizarre thing about Super Mario Bros. One last crazy fact. In Japan, Super Mario Bros. Came out September 13th, 1985. In America, there's a whole article I read about how no one knows when it came out. Like, no one knows the exact date.
What?
Somehow. Like, there's all these different sources that say different dates, and like this guy like called all these people who like worked for Japan at the time and stuff, and they would like be like, oh yeah, it came out like this month, and then like other people would say another thing. This is a weird example, like Super Mario Bros. In general, of like video games of the time, because we know so much about it, because it's like one of the biggest games ever made, and because like they did all these like retrospective looks and stuff, like interviews and stuff. But like no one gave a shit about video games at the time. So there's like,
yeah, you're right. Like, no one thought to write that down.
Yeah, like he looked at like, you know, newspapers and stuff at the time to try and find it, and like couldn't find it that way, because like newspapers weren't writing about it.
Yeah,
like no one was like taking it, you know, taking video games seriously. That changed after Super Mario Bros. At least in Japan, I think there started being more like magazines and stuff devoted to video games. But yeah, for this era, and honestly even past this era into like the 90s and stuff, there's still a lot of like, no one knows a lot of information about these games.
Well, thank you for listening to Gameography, the podcast. This has been Super Mario Bros. Truly, what a journey we've taken since that unremembered day. The second note that I wrote down after "fuck the hammer guys" was that I feel like this and Zelda were as big a jump in video games as the jump between 2D and 3D. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Like technology wise, yeah, maybe not, but like as far as like what they did, both of those games are still like, they're still just good games. Like
absolutely, yeah.
There's so many games that came out in the 80s or just around this time that's like were considered good at the time. That's like you cannot go back and play them and like enjoy them now. But like like Mario, 100%, you can just enjoy it. And that's actually like, not to go back to those interviews, but like they were interviewing one of the like guys who used to work at Nintendo, and now he doesn't work there anymore, but he like works as like a researcher on video games at a university. And he said he would give his students Super Mario Bros. Who like, you know, they're like too young to have grown up with it. Yeah. And some of them had like never played it before. And he would just watch them play, and he'd be like, they all enjoyed it, and they would all say they liked it.
Scientifically observably good. It holds up.
Yeah, that's our look at Super Mario Bros. The next episode, we are looking at the game he worked on at the same time as this one, and that is Zelda. Yeah, if you're not following us and you want to see all those images that we talked about, please follow us at Gameography Pod, and you can go to our website, gameographypod.com.
I want to say on the air, Devin made that website. It's a great website. If you're a surveyor, if you enjoy really nice websites, honestly, just go, even if you don't like this podcast, but you somehow made it to the end.
If you made it to the end of this podcast and you're like, this podcast sucks, at least go look at the website.
Yeah.
That's the least you could do.
I would almost prefer it if exclusively people who didn't like this episode but listened to the whole thing followed us and looked at the website.
Yeah. Okay, bye.